So there's a fight that's being talked about more and more in boxing circles. And for me, it's an underrated fight because there's a strong argument to make that this is pound for pound number 1 versus pound for pound number 2. But the rumours are that Sergey Kovalev will be facing Andre Ward in 2016. Both guys have recently been inactive. Andre Ward hasn't fought. He's only fought once in the last couple of years, actually, when he fought Paul Smith in a tune-up style fight. Sergey Kovalev hasn't fought for a while. There's been rumours of a few injuries, rumours of a John Pascal rematch. I saw an interview with Kathy Duva recently that was on Boxing Scene, and she was saying that this fight is getting closer and that there's the potential that this fight could actually happen. And if it does, it's a very, very exciting matchup. And I'm not going to give you a strong prediction as to who wins the matchup in this video, because the honest answer is, I don't know. It is one of the toughest fights out there to call. Sergey Kovalev obviously has an obvious advantage in the sense that not only is he a weight class above Andre Ward, but he's a massive, massive knockout puncher. Realistically, Sergey Kovalev is the bigger man. He appears to have, the huge advantage in power. And with Andre Ward not being the most, incredible one-punch knockout artist, you'd have to say that Sergey Kovalev would be the more likely of the two to win by knockout. However, that's not Andre Ward's game. Andre Ward, to me, is a boxer who is so well-rounded and so astute and technically capable that he rivals Floyd Mayweather. And, sometimes when I used to watch Floyd Mayweather fights, I got this sense of invincibility about Floyd Mayweather. It was almost like he couldn't lose. He was just too far ahead of the crowd. And when I watch Andre Ward, I'm starting to get a similar feeling about him. And I know that's a strange comment given that his best fights were several years ago. But if you actually watch those fights back, and if you look at the Carl Frost fight, for example, Carl Frost would widely have been regarded as the number 2 in the 168 pound division. Carl Frost was a guy who featured on a lot of people's pound for pound top 10 list. But Andre Ward was quite considerably superior to him. And Andre Ward won that fight not by using power, not by using brute force, but by being a really, really classy boxer and a really classy technician. And I'm the kind of guy who believes at the very elite level of the sport, and let's be clear, this is the very elite level of the sport now, more often than not, the world-class boxer will beat the heavy puncher. Now with Sergey Kovalev it's slightly different, because while Sergey Kovalev is a heavy puncher, what he has shown recently is that he is also a world-class boxer. Perhaps he hasn't shown the boxing form of Andre Ward, the Olympic gold medalist, a guy who's been pound for pound top 3 or 4 for the last 5 years or so. But in his performance against Bernard Hopkins, he showed that he could overcome someone who was a world-class boxer. In many ways there are some similarities between Andre Ward and Bernard Hopkins. They're defensively minded, they're rough and tough. They're guys who don't win by knockout, but who can frustrate you, who can negate your game, who can rough you up on the inside. These days, with Andre Ward his age and Bernard Hopkins in his 50s, you'd have to say that Andre Ward is the superior operator. And I think that Andre Ward could put on more of a fight than Bernard Hopkins was able to do. And whilst that fight was not close between Hopkins and Kovalev, Kovalev won that fight quite clearly in my eyes. There were some areas Hopkins was having success. Not enough areas to take rounds, not enough areas to look like he had a live chance of winning the fight, but nevertheless areas to show that Sergey Kovalev wasn't complete at a pound for pound level. Fundamentally, while Sergey Kovalev is so much more than a big puncher, while Sergey Kovalev is an excellent world-class amateur boxer who just happens to have amazing punching power, I do think that Andre Ward is the superior technician at present. I think the step up in weight, assuming that the fight goes down at 175 pound, is in Sergey Kovalev's favour. I also think in the last year or two, Kovalev has been in with the higher level of opposition. That's factual, isn't it? So Kovalev is very, very live in this fight, and this is a real tough one to call. I genuinely view it as 50-50. Is the step up in weight class against Sergey Kovalev, who's got all the momentum and seems to be this unstoppable force, just too much for a guy like Andre Ward? Or is Andre Ward such a complete technician that, like Floyd Mayweather, he can step up in weight class, take on the top of that division, and prove to have a bit in hand? I must admit that I have somewhat bought into Andre Ward's invincibility, and whenever I've thought about this fight historically, my instinct has been to side with Ward. I just feel that Andre Ward is operating on another level to everyone else in the sport of boxing at present. Having said that, momentum is such a key thing in boxing, and I view Sergey Kovalev as the momentum fighter, whereas Andre Ward I kind of view as more, you know, he's been inactive, he's faced lower level of opposition, and he's had huge issues outside the ring, legal disputes, etc. So for me, this is a real tantalising fight, and I love fights like this. I love fights where working out the answer and working out whose side you're on and who you're predicting is so much more complicated. You've got to analyse so many different layers. I mean, for me, who's going to win the battle of the jabs in this fight? Who's going to be capable on the inside? Who's going to be physically the stronger? Who's going to be the better mover? Will either man have the ability to hurt the other one? You know, it's fascinating stuff. I mean, some of those are more obvious. You know, Andre Ward was hurt by Darnell Boone, so we know that Sergey Kovalev can hurt Andre Ward. You know, Andre Ward hurt Chad Dawson. Can he do the same to Sergey Kovalev at 175 pounds? It's all unknown. But yeah, I'm seriously hyped for this fight. And whilst these are two guys who are less known to the general public, you know, I'm not suggesting that this is Mayweather-Pacquiao and that level of event. What I would say is, to us, the boxing hardcore, this fight is as entertaining as it gets. This fight is as hard to choose as it gets. And if you put a gun to my head, I'd go Andre Ward. But I really need to analyse this in more depth if it is to be made. Let me know your thoughts on this fight. I'm interested to get a poll of opinions here. Please leave your comments. Kovalev, Ward, who's going to win? Many thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.